Hello and welcome to Knitwear Diaries. My name is Kyla May, and in this video we are going to go over how to knit the Jester sweater. The Jester sweater is an all-over Entrelac knit sweater with top-down seamless construction. So if you tend to like raglans and don't like seaming, this might be a great sweater for you. I would say that this sweater pattern is suitable for an experienced beginner. Like I said, you know, if you've knit a raglan sweater, I think a great beginner sweater example would be the Step by Step sweater by Florence Miller. You can easily knit this sweater. So Entrelac knit consists of only knits, purls, knitting together by slip slip knit, purling together by slip slip purl, and picking up stitches. So if you know how to do that, you can easily knit this sweater. The only things that we don't necessarily go over in this sweater is how to do German short rows, the act of knitting and purling. I'm kind of expecting you to know the base level stuff in terms of knitting, but everything else in the pattern in this video. So Entrelac knit consists of knitting up each rectangle, and the rectangles will either be right leaning or left leaning, and let me show you. So as you can see, this is one rectangle, this is another, and so you're just knitting back and forth each rectangle. Because my intention for this pattern is to be in the round, I did teach myself how to backwards knit, or also known as left hand knitting, so that I don't have to constantly purl my work. In my tutorial, I kind of start out showing you me flipping my work just for the ease of view, but then I also show myself knitting back and forth, and I think you'll see how much easier knitting back and forth makes it. Another thing that I want to say is I do think that this pattern definitely favors a more fluffy or fuzzy yarn. So right now I am knitting my first sample, which is knit with Juniper Moon yarns in Beatrix, and it is a blown yarn, so it is very fuzzy. You can, however, knit it with honestly anything. This sweater right here, I knit with 100% wool. This was knit with Pure Gint, and so any yarn will work. However, I do think that it does work best with a more blown yarn or something fuzzy. Maybe you want to hold a mohair. That is an option for you. So my pattern, depending on which version you are knitting, will be ranging from 30-inch finished bust circumference all the way to, I want to say 73 or 74-inch bust circumference. There will be two options for sleeves, and I will show you them. So there is a shaped sleeve version. You can see that it's like decreasing for those who don't want a straight sleeve, and then there is also a straight sleeve. And let me clip me modeling this for you. I don't know. So as you can see, this sweater is meant to have positive ease and is also meant to have a more neutral body shape. So I also made two samples for my husband, which for each version there will be photos of my husband wearing the project. So as of right now, there will be two versions of the Jester sweater. There is going to be a bulky weight version and also a DK weight version. Here is my DK weight version. I'm currently wearing my bulky weight version here. Despite there being two versions, the technique will remain the same. The only difference is, and this will change between sizes as well, the only difference is how many stitches you pick up / work. So I would just be very mindful of what row you're on and pay attention to how many stitches you should be picking up for that row of rectangles. You will be able to find and purchase my pattern in my Ravelry, which I have linked below in the description. I do want to make note that I am releasing my bulky weight version first, and I plan to release my DK weight version in January of 2026. I do want to point out a key issue that might arise for you. Since Entrelac knit are individual rectangles going at a diagonal, row gauge as well as stitch gauge will be very crucial. So any variance, whether it's 1 stitch off, 2 stitch off, 1 row off, you know, a half a row off, that will definitely affect the size of your finished garment. And so I do want to say, especially if you are a beginner, it is very important you gauge swatch. On my pattern, I do have other links to other YouTube videos for other resources for Entrelac knitting if my video is not for you. I totally understand that. Everybody has different learning styles, and so I fully understand that my video might not be for you. But this is for people who want to know exactly how I do it, just because in terms of the technique of Entrelac knitting, you know, it's been around for so long, there are so many different ways to do it. And by ways, I mean, it's just a difference between, you know, slip knit or knit 2 together. There's just so many different techniques, so I will be linking those for you as well if you do not find my videos helpful. It is on my pattern. I believe it would be page 3 for both of them. So the topics that I will be talking about in this video will be base triangles, right leaning rectangles, left leaning rectangles, how to split for body and sleeves, how to pick up sleeve stitches, how to knit finishing triangles, and also how to minimize color peaking. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you for all of you that will be trying out my pattern. It looks so much harder than it is, which is why I think it's such a great technique, and I think you will get the hang of it really quickly. If you have any questions that I do not go over in my pattern or in this YouTube video, feel free to leave me a comment. I will try to keep up with those as much as I can. If I'm not responding to you, hunt me down on Instagram, also Knitweardiaries, maybe also TikTok, Knitweardiaries as well, or you could reach out to me via email, which I will also have down below. Thank you guys for watching and knitting my very first knitting pattern. Once again, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, leave a comment below, find me on any knitting platform. I will try to get back to you. If you have finished your project, I would love, love, love to see the colorways that you chose and to see how it turned out. But for now, enjoy your Jester sweater, and I hope to see you next time. So now let's get on to the base triangles. The stitch marker is just so I can mark where the center of my back is. It doesn't matter which version you are knitting, whether it's my bulky weight or my DK weight version, or what size you are wearing. The technique remains the same. The only thing that changes is the amount of stitches in the beginning triangle. So for my size, I will have 6 stitches. For the bulky weight sweater knitters, you are going to start with 4 stitches, so you can stop right at 4. There are other sizes that will start with 8 stitches per base triangle, and so you'll keep going until you hit 8. Oh, and I also want to apologize in advance since because I'm working with a darker yarn, I brought out my Chiagus, which are not my preferred knitting needles, and so like I feel like I'm learning how to walk again. So for my size, once again, I am going to have 6 stitches. So let me get this out of the way. Okay, so you are going to knit 1, turn, and you are going to purl that stitch that you had just created. Oh god, that was an ugly purl. Okay, you guys, second apology, I also typically knit flat. So, okay, purl, awesome. Turn your work again. God, let me get rid of this. Then you're going to slip 1, knit 2, turn your work again, then you're going to slip 1, purl 2, if I could do it. Okay, you're going to flip again, slip 1, knit 1, 2, or that was 3, so we now have 3 stitches actually. So slip 1, knit 2, knit 3, flip. Like you can tell, like these aren't my needles. So slip 1, purl 2, purl 3. And you could also tell that I don't usually knit like this. Okay, so we have 3 stitches in our triangle, and you can see it right there. You can tell because it's divided, separated from the other regular stitches. So you're going to slip your first stitch, knit 1, or knit 2, knit 3, and knit your 4th stitch. And so for those of you that are starting with 4 stitches per rectangle, that is your first rectangle, and you will continue moving, let's see, from left to right. All right, but since my triangle has 6 stitches, I'm going to continue. We are going to flip slip the first stitch, purl 2, purl stitch 3, purl stitch 4. I hope that wasn't that confusing. Oh god, that was ugly. Purl stitch 4. Okay, I'm gonna flip. Oh god, this one's gonna be like my ugliest triangle yet. Okay, so slip 1, knit 2nd stitch, knit 3rd stitch, knit 4th stitch, knit 5th stitch. Okay, flip it again. All right, you're going to slip the first stitch, purl the 2nd stitch, purl the 3rd stitch, 4th stitch, and 5th stitch. You're going to turn your work, and you're going to slip the first stitch, knit the 2nd stitch, knit the 3rd stitch, knit the 4th stitch, knit the 5th stitch, and then knit your 6th stitch. So here, for my size, in my version, I am finished with my first base triangle. It will look kind of wonky like this at first. And now I'm going to show you knitting backwards, which you will see that I am a whole lot more, I guess, intuitive. And the reason why I learned how to backwards knit, also known as left-hand knitting, is because the whole purpose of my pattern is to do entrelac knitting completely in the round, and the benefit of in the round is not having to turn your work. So let me show you how I do that. So you're going to knit the first stitch, purl the 2nd stitch, slip the first stitch, knit the 2nd stitch, slip the first stitch, purl the 2nd stitch. I'm going a little fast. Slip the first stitch, knit the 2nd stitch, knit the 3rd stitch, slip the first stitch, purl the 2nd stitch, purl the 3rd stitch, slip the first stitch, knit the 2nd stitch, knit the 3rd stitch, knit the 4th stitch. Once again, if your pattern calls for 4 stitches per triangle, you are done, but mine calls for 6, so slip the first stitch, purl the 2nd stitch, purl the 3rd stitch, purl the 4th stitch. Okay, slip the first stitch, knit the 2nd, knit the 3rd, knit the 4th, knit the 5th. All right, slip that first stitch, purl the second, purl the third, purl the fourth, purl the fifth, slip the first stitch, knit the second stitch, knit the third stitch, knit the fourth stitch, knit the fifth stitch, knit the sixth stitch. And there you go. There is my 6 stitches per triangle, and you can't really see it right now because they're on the needles, but they will begin to make those points. So I will go ahead and do this one more time, and I will flip my work. Wish me luck. Okay, so knit the first stitch, turn, purl the first stitch. Okay, and reminder, every first stitch after this you are slipping it, so slip the first stitch, knit the second, turn, alright, slip the first stitch, purl the second stitch, and I am going to shut up so then you can just watch me. There you go. My 6 stitches per triangle has been made, and as you can see, they will start to be easily divvied up like this. How you know you have the right amount of stitches is honestly just by however many base triangles, stitches per base triangles, and if you are done with base triangles and you ended up with extra, you probably started with the wrong stitch count. So I would go back and look into that, but that is how you do your base triangles. I appreciate your patience with me while I relearn how to knit, apparently. Okay, so we have just finished all of the base triangles, and now we are going to start our right-leaning rectangles. So the first right-leaning rectangle is going to be picked up differently from all the other right-leaning rectangles, and the only difference is just what side of your work you're facing. For the first one, you'll be facing the right side. For all other right-leaning rectangles, you will be facing the wrong side. Okay, so I have ended right here. So we are going to start picking up stitches along this right edge of our very first triangle that we had made. And it will be the same for picking up right-leaning rectangles after making left-leaning rectangles. The only difference is, like, this is just a triangle. Right, and so for this size and this version, I am going to be picking up 7 stitches. And just for my own personal ease, I usually just like to quickly tie this just to help anchor the string down a little bit. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and then we are going to turn our work and start working on these groups of stitches right here. Okay, so you are going to slip the first stitch and purl till the last picked up stitch. So all right, and so as you can see, we have the last stitch here, and we are going to slip, slip, purl the last stitch and the first / closest triangle stitch. So slip, slip, and purl. All right, then we're going to turn our work. See, and this is why I like to have these anchored together, just to minimize holes where we can. So slip, and then we're going to knit through the rest of the 7 stitches that I picked up. Okay, and then we are going to repeat that. Slip the first stitch, then purl till the last picked up stitch. All right, and here we are again. We're going to slip. Oh, that was a bit messy. I'm going to pick that up a little bit better. We're going to slip, slip, okay, and purl 2 together. And then we will repeat, and we will keep repeating until we work all of these stitches. For time's sake, since I typically knit right-handed to left-handed, or also known as mirrored knitting, I will be doing that for the rest of these stitches. So Okay, so now we have the last stitch to work. So we're going to slip this first stitch, knit all the way through, I'm going to turn our work. Okay, we're going to slip this first stitch and purl to the last picked up stitch. And then once again, we are going to slip, slip, and purl. All right, so this is what it looks like from the right side, completing your first rectangle. All right, and so for all other rectangles, we are going to pick up from the wrong way. And because we're facing the wrong way, we are going to be picking up purlwise. Six, 7. Okay, so you've just picked up your stitches purlwise so that this fold is on facing the wrong side, and then then we will turn, and once again for my size I picked up 7 stitches, so I'm going to slip the first stitch and knit to 7. So 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 6, 7. Okay, and then you're going to continue on working these stitches, slip, slip, stitching the last stitch and the closest triangle stitch. Okay, so we are at this last stitch, so we are going to slip, slip, and purl. All right, turn our work. Oops. And repeat. Yep. All right, and then we will continue picking up purlwise and working these next stitches. Okay, so we have just knit all of our right leaning rectangles, and now we are going to start our first left leaning rectangle. Like the right leaning rectangles, the first left leaning rectangle will be picked up differently from all the other left leaning rectangles. To make it easier to tell where my last stitch was, you could use a stitch marker, or if you're lazy like me and I don't want to go upstairs to my bowl of stitch markers, I'm using an earring to identify it. Okay, hopefully that will click off easily later. Okay, so if you're flipping your work, you have just finished slip slip purling, and so now we are going to pick up purlwise along this edge and work these stitches right here. For my size in this version, I'm picking up, what am I picking up? I'm picking up 8 stitches. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my god, my earring's annoying. Probably should have went upstairs and grabbed a stitch marker. 8. Okay. I picked up 8. I'm gonna knit the 7 stitches until I reach my very last picked up stitch. But I'm gonna slip the first one as per usual. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and then we're going to slip, slip, and knit these 2 together. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work and start purling. So slip the first stitch per usual. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, 8. And so this is why it is good to have a stitch marker. It's just so you could make sure you're not accidentally working, continuing to work, especially while we are at the beginning rows of your left leaning rectangle. Once we get farther out, it's a whole lot easier to tell when your rectangle ends. Okay. Oh, dropped a stitch. Okay. All right, and then we are going to repeat that until we work all of these stitches right here in this first rectangle. Slip, slip, knit, and then you would turn your work, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to knit backwards. As you can see, there is now a farther divide, and it's a lot easier to see. Just because it's annoying me, I'm going to take this off until we need it later.
Okay, then we're going to slip, slip, knit, okay, and then slip the first stitch and purl, 2, okay. And so now, as you can see, we have, focus, come on, focus now. Okay, camera's focused finally. So now you can see we have one last stitch to work, and so for this example, to make it easier on everyone, I will turn my work and knit traditionally. Slip the first stitch, purl, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna turn our work. Slip the first stitch, knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, no, I just started on the wrong number. Okay, and then we're gonna slip, slip, and knit. Okay, so that is our first left-leaning rectangle. It's going that way. Okay, so and then for all other left-leaning rectangles, instead of picking up purlwise, we are going to be picking up knitwise. So I'll show you that here. We are going to mark this stitch so we don't going to oh my god, did I break this earring or something? Is that why I don't wear it? Okay, so we're gonna mark this stitch so that way we don't accidentally knit it. Pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so we picked up 8 stitches. We marked where that last rectangle was so that we don't accidentally knit it. We're going to turn our work the wrong way. Purl that first stitch per usual, and start purling the rest of your picked up stitches. Awesome. So you see, I almost kept going there. Okay. And so now we are going to work these stitches right here to continue creating that left leaning rectangle. Okay, we're here at the last stitch. Slip, slip, knit, and I'm going to purl back. Alright, and then we're knitting our last stitch here. I'm going to slip. I would like to focus on us. I'm going to slip. Knit two together. And there we go. And then you're just going to continue on until all of these right-leaning rectangles have been worked. Okay, so we are now at the point where we are going to be splitting for body and sleeves. Hooray! So I am going to take my barber cord. You might be using scrap yarn, whatever is easiest, and moving some of these, moving however many rectangles it says. No! Okay, hold on. God. Oh, okay, oh my gosh, that was stressful. Okay, where were we? Okay. Alright. Hold on, I kind of want it to be a little bit more up. More up and out of the way. Okay. So, 3 rectangles. This is what... Sorry, that noise is annoying me. This is what I like to do. I just like to tie it at the ends like this. Right? And then grab this, do the same thing. You know, you do whatever makes you comfortable. This is what I like to do, okay? All right. So now we are going to do this thing called cable cast on. So what I'm going to do first, right here, is I'm just going to pick up one of the stitches right here. So that's one, and for my size and this version, I am to cast on 10 stitches, or no, wrong version, 14 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3. Let me see if I could zoom in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, gonna double check that's 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, and then just to be able to anchor myself, my next stitch, my last stitch, I am picking up through here. So just to show you guys one more time. And honestly, I think a better anchor would be like right through here. Okay. All right, and you are going to treat these stitches here as your picked up stitches, working right leaning rectangles and working these stitches here. So I'm going to zoom out. That's me zooming in. Zooming out so then you can see what I'm doing here. So slip. All right. And then we are once again treating these like picked up stitches. Going to start working this rectangle, creating a right leaning rectangle. Whoops. All right, and then you are going to do your slip, slip, and purl. All right, and then continue. All right, and then once you work all of these, you're going to continue making right leaning rectangles until your next sleeve split. The next split will be done the exact same way, so you could just rewatch this section. Hello everyone. So we are going to start knitting up our sleeve, which means we're almost done, unless you decided to knit up your sleeve before finishing the body. But to me right now we are almost done. So we are going to go ahead and transfer the stitches that were on your stitch holders or yarn, whichever you use, onto your needles. And this is the main reason why I like to buy barber cord. When you're using barber cord, don't just pull this, don't just pull the barber cord, because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna pull too hard, and then all of a sudden, the barber cord detaches from your needle, and then you're dropping stitches, and then you're freaking out, and then you're getting mad, and then you're having to pick them up. I don't know. Can you tell I've gone through that one too many times? Because I have. Okay, let me get my yarn situated really quick. Okay. All right. So here we are. We are going to pick up stitches starting, I'm going to call it 2 groups, okay? We're going to start the first group from the right end of this rectangle here. You see we have the 3
rectangles up here. And we're going to be picking this up in our main color. For my size, I am going to be picking up 14 stitches per rectangle. So we're going to do that. Alright. Let me zoom in maybe. I hope this stays in focus, really, I really do. So I'm going to pick up here to help minimize holes, but also I like to leave a very long tail so that I can seam up the hole when I do, what is it called? When I do the weaving of ends. So I'm gonna make sure I have a long tail. So we're gonna pick up 14 stitches. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh. Come on now. 13. And then 14. Okay, so I picked up 14 stitches. Now I am going to get a stitch marker just so I can mark where this group of rectangles start. If you want to go crazy, you can put a stitch marker on all of the stitches that you just picked up, but I'm just going to do just this one. Okay. And then, we are going to pick up our second group of stitches. Once again, I'm picking up 14 for my size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay. Ah! No! Alright. Okay, so we have two groups, our first group and our second group. And what we are doing now is we are going to make a right-leaning rectangle, treating this group as our recently picked up stitches and this as the group 1 as the stitches we will need to work. Give me 1 second, I need to get myself situated here. Alright, so we're going to slip the first stitch and then purl to the last picked up stitch. Six, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13. All right. So now we are going to slip. Sorry, the stitch marker is like so getting in my way. We're going to slip, and purl. And then we're going to slip the first stitch and knit through the end of your picked up stitches. Okay, all right, so now we are just going to repeat until we work all of our stitches of the first group. If you hear my cat meowing, it's because I have the door closed and she does not like that. I hope you can see what's going on, really. I realized that I was knitting the whole sweater with my Chiago needles, but they are hurting my hands and I don't get a smaller length needle for the Chiago's until like the end of October. And so I'm back to using my typical needles, but I realized that they're very dark, and so I hope you can see what I'm doing. And I mean, if you can't, this is essentially just a right-leaning rectangle. You're just needing to know where to pick up, which I think I showed well. But I apologize in advance, but at the end of the day, I need to do the most ergonomic thing, because I mean, when I was knitting with the Chiago's for this sweater, I really just I couldn't do anything, and it was just hurting so bad, and you know, just the 5-inch tips that I had were just not working for me. And I want to be able to knit for the rest of my life, so I apologize, but hey, I'm doing the most ergonomic thing for me, and this is your sign that you should too. Okay, so now we are going to work our very last stitch. As you can see, it's loose right now, but that's fine. You could just pull the little tail you left out. All right, so per usual, we are going to slip that first stitch and purl to the last stitch, not knitting the last stitch or purling the last stitch, I guess. Okay, so now we have the last stitch. We're going to slip. I'm gonna take this one, slip. You all see that? And then we're going to purl. Now once again, it's loose. Just pull that tail. All right. So now you should have 1 right-leaning rectangle in your main color and 3 left-leaning rectangles in your contrast color. You are going to continue in your main color and pick up and work your contrast color left-leaning rectangles. So then you'll have 4 rectangles. You'll have 4 right-leaning rectangles, and then you can finish off the zigzag by making the left-leaning rectangles, and then boom, you have worked your first sleeve, and you continue until your desired length. This picking up part is really just a setup part to work your other ones, and the rest are exactly how we've been working the entire yoke and body. Okay, we are now at the finishing triangles, and they are very similar to right-leaning rectangles. The only difference is we're decreasing stitches, kind of like casting off, but in terms of the first right-leaning rectangle versus all other right-leaning rectangles, the finishing stitches are exactly that way. So, right, so for this size, I'm picking up 14 stitches. I'm gonna pick it up over here. Right, and just to once again anchor myself in, I'm going to tie a little knot. Easiest way to go about it. Oh. Okay. Alright, so picking up 14 stitches to okay, so I believe this is 14, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, perfect. And as always, you're going to slip that first stitch and purl till the last stitch. Alright, so we're at the last stitch, and we are going to slip, slip, right, knit, and if you're purling, you would then turn your work. Now we're facing the right side,
And we are just going to take this stitch, which is the second to last stitch that was made, and just slip it over. And then we are going to knit to the end of your picked up stitches. And then we're going to repeat. And then we're going to slip, slip, purl two together. Alright, and then before we start, we're going to take the second to last stitch and throw it over. And you're going to keep doing that until you have one remaining stitch. Alright, so this is our second to last stitch to work. We're still doing the same thing where we are slipping over. And then I like to just keep this on that needle. I don't think I really need to slip that stitch, which I guess in this case you'd be facing the wrong side. But I like to just purl these two together, and then boom, you have worked up your first ending triangle. So with this picked up stitch, it is going to count towards the rest of your picked up stitches. So because I pick up 14 in this example, you are just going to pick up 13 new stitches because of the one that you're left with. And you will repeat. If you have questions on picking up, I kind of go over that a bit more in depth when talking about the right leaning rectangles. I just mostly wanted to show you guys how you're kind of binding off the edge, so you can go ahead and look at that. And yeah, I will keep this short and sweet since I am sure you're well versed in right leaning rectangles. So when you are slip purling, when you are doing right leaning rectangles and you don't pull the stitch, so the stitch that you're purling as well as the stitch right after it when you're going back and knitting, when you don't pull those tight enough, you will get color peeking that will appear in the as a little line like that. And towards the end of the sleeve, I definitely got a little bit lazy, and so you can definitely see the color peeking here. I'm going to show you how to fix that after the fact of knitting your sweater, and hopefully you know, it only showed up like once or twice, especially if you're doing your due diligence in keeping that stitch tight when you are creating right leaning rectangles, because it should be appearing like this where you don't get that line there. You will have some color peeking here just from like the stitch in general, but you really shouldn't be seeing that distinct line underneath the stitches right there. So let me show you how to fix that. So you're going to go ahead and turn your garment inside out, and you can tell it is a right leaning rectangle when you can kind of see here that there are stitches being pulled that way. See, you can see that the brown is being worked. You'll know it's not a right leaning rectangle because you'll see this like stitch line where you picked up your stitches, so you know that that is not a particular right leaning rectangle. And I am specifically talking about this beige tweed right leaning rectangle is what we're going to be working with right now. So you're going to grab your darning needle, and I just grabbed a piece of thread that is of the same yarn of your right leaning rectangle, which for this one it is the beige. And actually, let me zoom out really quick, so sorry. You can see that this thread is just ever so slightly a few inches, maybe two inches longer than the rectangle itself. So you are going to be grabbing your darning needle and your thread in the color of that right leaning rectangle you are wanting to correct, and we will start picking up these stitches. All right, so here you can see one of the first stitches that was picked up, and we're just going to thread right through that, leaving, you know, an inch long, maybe a little bit over an inch long tail. Okay, then we are going to go underneath. I don't know if you can see that. We are going to go underneath the brown stitch here to, oh, I don't know if you can see that. Okay, we are going to go underneath the brown stitch here to pick up the stitch that was purled together in your left leaning color. So we're going to pick that up, right? So you can see that. And then we are going to pick up the stitch that is right to the right of it. Okay. And then you're just going to pull that taut. Okay. So we want to pull the stitch that is right under this bar, the white stitch, right? So there's that brown, so we're going to get that stitch that's right directly under it. That's the front facing stitch. We're going to thread through that. Okay, so we just thread through that, and then we're going to get the stitch right next to it, and then pull it taut, and you can kind of go like this to kind of like straight. So you are going to keep doing that all the way up to the end, and let me show you the difference that it makes. So as you can see, I only cleaned up the first few stitches of this rectangle here, and you could tell because there is just all of this gaping, peeking over here, and it really does make the world of a difference when you had forgotten to keep your stitches taut, and you know, you're noticing color peeking when you're not using a blown yarn. As I mentioned in the intro of this video, that this style, in my opinion, does favor a more blown yarn. On my pattern, I do mention other links on Entrelac knitting. I did include an alternative link on how to avoid color peeking, such as this. And you know, another one of the color peeking suggestions is to use a significantly smaller size needle than what your thread typically calls for, but I decided not to go that route because it will change gauge. Like at the end of the day, it will drastically change gauge, and it'll change the fabric of the garment. And so I came up with, I discovered slip purling, which had done a good job at avoiding color peeking as long as you keep that stitch tight. But as you can see, when I got towards the end of my last sleeve, I really did loosen up and get a little bit lazy with that, just because I was really wanting to finish this sweater.